荒俣は念願の図鑑を手に入れた。動いて泣くんだ。
家のアゲハはハイパーメディアパソコン富士通 FM タウンズ。
富士通。
Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica. Today we're taking a look at Mad Stalker, released in 1994 by FamilySoft and Fill-In Cafe. Fill-In Cafe is a developer, and they're most well known for the Asuka 120% series of fighting games. It's one of the weirder developer names I've ever heard of, Fill-In Cafe, but that's who made the game. Taking a look at it right now, it is a 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up. You are this gigantic mech fighting smaller mechs, larger mechs throughout the city. I was actually originally going to feature a different game. When I was playing Mad Stalker, I decided that I enjoyed this one better. The first game I was going to feature was Genocide 2 in the Genocide Squared collection for the FM Towns. But gameplay-wise, graphically, this game might not be as impressive as Genocide Squared. But from the gameplay element, it's smoother, it's more fun, I like the music better. So I ended up actually switching at the last minute to show you guys this game right here. So it came out for the X68000 platform, as well as for the FM Towns. FM Towns got a full Red Book audio soundtrack, which is excellent. The 68000 version has a great chiptune soundtrack as well, but this is one of those instances where they only made the soundtrack better by having Red Book audio. They didn't change it so much that it sounds completely different or out of place. They just kind of added to the soundtrack of the 68000 version and just kind of made it better all the way around. Additionally, the game was ported to the PlayStation 1 in 1997 as well, but that is more like an entire remake of the game versus a straight port. Graphically, obviously much more impressive because it's on a newer platform, but it changes enough of the gameplay and the look that I actually don't find it to be the best version. I would say that 68000 or FM Towns, you can't go wrong with either. I like the FM Towns version because of the soundtrack, but you could certainly play the X86000 version and get the exact same gameplay experience, where the PlayStation 1 version changes things just enough so that it feels less impressive, I guess I would have to say. For a PlayStation 1 game, it seems very unimpressive compared to being very impressive for an FM Towns game. So I think once they remade the game, they didn't do enough to actually make it worth that full PlayStation 1 translation. Still an awesome game, still definitely worth picking up, especially if you want to compare it to the original versions, but definitely my recommendation would be pick this up on the Towns, pick this up on the X68000. You're going to get a better game and a better experience. You're going to pay more money for it for sure, but I would recommend that. I absolutely love the graphical style of this game, that 2D sprite artwork where you have the bar signs in the background. There's some depth to the stage. Even though everything is kind of happening on one plane, there isn't really much parallax scrolling going on, but the amount of sprites that are moving around the screen at any given time I think is really where Mad Stalker excels. You have all these cars coming in from the right, you have mechs, you have giant buildings in the background with, lights on. There's a lot going on at any given point in time in the screen, and minus some explosions, you really have a pretty much locked 60 frame a second experience. So while there might be missing that little bit of parallax, that depth to the screen so much, as far as how the game runs and handles, it is quite impressive. Control and combat-wise, definitely also has a lot of depth to the game. Now, there's only 2 buttons on the FM Towns controller, but as far as how the combinations of the buttons work and how many moves your mech has, it actually has a surprising amount of depth in the combat. You have different size enemies, you have enemies that are going to be up in the air, you have enemies that are going to be basically your same stature, and then you're going to have enemies or mechs that are going to be much smaller than you. So at some point in time, you are fighting like 3 different vertical scales, which adds a lot of gameplay depth to the game itself. It's kind of interesting, with those 3 different layers, because this has been mentioned, along with Alien vs. Predator by Capcom, to be one of the 2 games that heavily inspired Guardian Heroes on the Saturn. And that has 3 different layers of depth going, foreground and background and the center plane of that game. So while Mad Stalker only has 1, depth as far as the game's concerned, vertically it seems that there's like 3 real big stage areas where you can fight in, so I could see where that may have been an inspiration on Guardian Heroes, kind of that depth vertically versus having it, horizontally on the screen. But minus the inspiration is concerned, Mad Stalker is an excellent 2D beat 'em up game. definitely top tier for me. Do yourself a favor and play this. What I'm going to let you guys do is let you watch a little bit more of the gameplay without my commentary over it, and then I'll come back in a couple minutes and just kind of wrap up the video, talk about the ending, and where it's going to be coming up on the next episode. But enjoy some gameplay of Mad Stalker, and I'll be back in a few moments, and enjoy this boss fight of the big red land crab. Alright, I'm back, and you're taking a look at the second stage of Mad Stalker. You have these giant metallic electric eggs that fly around, and some of the enemies that do start showing up in the game have a little bit more strategy involved than just trying to hit them. There's a distinct timing involved in these metal eggs, where if you hit them when they're electrocuted, you are going to take damage, but you have to kind of wait for their opening for you to be able to attack them. Definitely love this stage and the art as far as the background's concerned. I do still miss a little bit of that parallax scrolling just because it is fun to look at, but otherwise graphically I do love the backgrounds and how detailed they are. Honestly, it reminds me a little bit of Kojima's work, Police Knots or Snatcher, kind of that futuristic Neo-Kobe style city, so it's definitely something on this game as well. I kind of just am partial to that sprite work and to that kind of setting, so definitely for me at least, high marks on the graphics of what you're looking at. Even the PC Engine release has great graphics. Obviously they have been reduced compared to the FM Towns or the X68000 version, just considering the PC Engine is an inferior console power-wise. It still has a great setting, and the art and graphics definitely still translate, even if they have been reduced in size or amount of colors on screen. So if you can check out the PC Engine version, I do recommend you check that out as well. Weirdly, this game and a lot of Fill-In Cafe's games were never brought over to the US. This game and all its iterations, including the PlayStation 1 remake, is a Japanese exclusive. So however you want to play this game, you're definitely going to be importing it unless you're watching this from a Japanese region. If you are, congratulations. Just run out to the store. Hopefully you can find it at a retro shop. But short of that, that is Mad Stalker for the FM Towns, playing it on the Marty. We really appreciate you guys watching these episodes. If you could do me a huge favor, go down below and hit the thumbs up and subscribe button. Ring the bell so you know when new episodes are coming out. Otherwise, we will see you guys next Tuesday for a brand new episode of Video Game Esoterica. If you want to follow us on Instagram, you can at Chicago Game Collector. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys next week with more episodes. Otherwise, have a great week and a good weekend. Bye-bye.